All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Adam Cummings. I'll be the chair tonight for this meeting, and I'll declare it to be a legally constituted meeting of the Town of Chi-Lai Zoning Board of Appeals. If you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so our board members tonight, my far left, Jim Wiesner. Immediate left is Mark Mary. Immediate right is Fred Trott. Far right is Philip Supernault. We have Matthew Piston, our assistant town council, at the side table with Paul Wanzenried from the building department. Sandy Hewlett is our stenographer for tonight. We will hear the applications in the order as they appear on the agenda. If you'd like a copy of it, they are on the roller cart by the entrance that you came in on. And at the conclusion of each public hearing, we will discuss and vote on the application. You'll receive a letter of our decision within a week. I do have to point out, in the event of an emergency, the exits are the entrance and the double doors you came in. The back corner, each of those doors are exits, as well as the exits at the side of the rooms. And if you do have a cell phone, please silence that. My notes say a page or two, but nobody's had a pager in 12 years, so I don't mention that one much. First one for the board, any issues with signs? All right, we'll move right on. Application number one, application of Robert Mason, 2 Clubhouse Drive, Churchville, New York, 14428, the owner for a variance to erect an accessory structure, a shed, which is A, 2 feet from the principal structure, 8 feet required. B, in front yard, which is not permitted. And C, 34.9 feet from the setback, where 35 feet is required per the PRD approval at the property located at 2 Clubhouse Drive in the PRD district. You can recall this was tabled from last month. And just get the clarification, if you could come up, and this goes for each of the applicants, if you can come up to the podium, identify yourself with your name and your address for the record, and anything else you'd like to add for the description for your application.
Certainly, Robert Mason, 2 Clubhouse Drive. You already stated we were here last month. We're coming to seek a variance to place a shed on our property, a 10 by 12 shed. Our property is 2 Clubhouse Drive. It's located on the corner of Clubhouse and Prestwick. It's a corner lot, and due to the severe sloping on the side and the back of the property, we want to tuck it in behind the 3rd garage, and in doing so, it'll be 2 feet from the structure, and also being 10 by 12, it also stick out 2 feet from the edge of the 3rd garage.
Okay.
And it's not blocking any windows, doors, or emergency exits.
Perfect, thank you. Jim, any questions?
So it's extremely close to the backside of the garage and the house. There's only 2 feet there. I mean, how do you maintain that area between those two with such a small access area?
Hopefully it won't be an issue, but if there is, I believe 2 feet will be enough room to do what I got to do. So.
Not like it's going to be on a pad or anything like that?
No, sir. No.
You'll have to get in and maintain around it?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay. Mark?
No questions.
Fred?
Did you consider at all like trying to put like concrete down and then pushing it in the 2 feet?
No, sir. I did not.
Is that something you consider, or?
No, I'm just going to, they're going to put it on blocks.
I guess I'm trying to relieve some of the, zoning codes here.
So that would remove it from the front setback, but then it would be a greater variance from the distance from the principal structure. Because then it would be 0 instead of 8, whereas he's going for 2. But yeah, it would eliminate letter C.
Trying to keep the costs down also,
Okay. Anything else, Fred?
No.
Bill?
I have no questions.
Side table, anything to add? All right, I'll open up the public hearing. Anyone in the public wishing to talk about this application only? All right, ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all those in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I'll do seeker for all these, and we'll do an individual vote for each of them. I will declare the zoning board as lead agency and based on the information and evidence presented at this hearing, find this application to be a type 2 action of no significant environmental impact. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now I'll ask for a motion to adopt this application.
So moved.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, for the first one, this is the one related to letter A, 2 feet from the principal structure where 8 feet is required.
You're going to do them
I'm
individually?
going to do them individually, yep. Jim?
Just looking over what the individual ones here for a minute. Really, I mean, some of these are tied together, really.
Yeah, we could do them all at once, because if he went with a smaller shed,
The setback and the location to the dwelling are essentially,
they're tied together, correct? Yep. Yep, and once again, if you put it closer to a house, thinking on fire protection side, now you've got another wood structure closer to a wood structure. Not that 2 feet's a lot, but any separation could. Then at the same token, we're looking at a 0.1 foot front setback is the request there. Pretty minor.
I mean, I think he's done a pretty good job trying to mitigate, frankly. I mean, given the circumstances that he's on a corner.
what is the value of splitting them all up?
I guess there isn't, so we'll do them all in one vote. So, Jim, all one, A, B, and C.
No.
Mark?
Yes.
Fred?
No.
Bill?
Yes.
I also vote yes, so this did approve, 3-2, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to application 2, the application of Timothy Smith, 215 Humphrey Road, Scottsville, New York, 14546, owner for a variance to erect an accessory structure A, 46 feet from the front yard setback where 100 feet is required. B, accessory structure to be 1,944 square feet with 792 square feet of pre-existing and 1,152 square feet proposed, where 1,200 square feet is allowed in the property located at 215 Humphrey Road in the RA-1 FPO district. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Welcome back.
Yes. I dropped off a copy of the new land map with the new measurements on it. Hopefully you got that.
Yep.
So, still seeking the variance for it for the 24-foot by 48-foot building. I readjusted everything, the placement of the building, which is now 46 feet back from the front property line, and I also squared it off, so I'm in an even 45 feet from my neighbor. And still, I'm going with this area because if I go back any farther, I'm into the floodplain, and I can't put it in the back because I have an existing raised septic system behind the main dwelling.
All right. Jim, any questions? Mark? Fred?
I didn't get the updated map. But what came into question was that 146 feet or something?
I'll clarify it for you. So the 46 feet from the front yard is from the road, or this,
This is from my property line because
Right,
where
from
that
the
is, there's a
right-of-way.
66-foot right-of-way from the center of the road because the road curves right at my house.
Okay. And that was what we had the question on?
Yep.
Yeah, we thought it was 33. Paul corrected me. It's 66 feet of right-of-way. So from my property line, I'm still 46 back from that. So I'm actually 112 feet back from the center of the road.
Okay. All right. No questions.
Bill?
No questions, but just an observation that given the district he's in, the sort of the locale of the property, I think he's doing as well as he could, given all those circumstances.
Okay.
Just an observation.
I do have one question on your new revised one. The neighbor to the south, just describe what, you've hand-drawn a barn on there? Is that accurate?
Me?
It's drawn on your plan sheet here?
Yeah, that's my rendition as much as possible.
Of the neighboring parcel?
There's a neighboring parcel, but the new drawing, that should be on mine. I mean, my neighbor does have a barn, both of them.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, both of them have barns, yes.
Correct, that's what I wanted to hear. All right, side table, anything to add? I'll go ahead and open up the public comment, or the public hearing. Not seeing any hands, ask for motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, one condition of approval, you'll have to get a building permit for this, so.
Yes.
You've already applied, he's denied, and you've come here. So just continue on that path with Paul. And we'll go with the same way as the first one unless the board objects to keeping them combined. 'Cause we're not looking to change the pre-existing. I think this as well. All right, so I will declare the zoning board as lead agency and based on the information and evidence presented at this hearing, find this application to be a type 2 action of no significant environmental impact. Is there a second?
Second.
Second is, all those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now I'd ask for a motion to adopt this application with that one condition of approval.
So moved.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
And board vote, Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
I also vote yes, so you're all set on this one. We'll get you a letter within a week. Continue to work with Paul in the building department?
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. All right. Application number 3. The application of Christopher Curry, 21 Daunton Drive, Rochester, New York, 14624. Owner for a variance to erect a garage 5 feet from the side yard setback where 10 feet is required. Property located at 21 Daunton Drive in the R-1-15 district. Good evening.
Yes, sir, good evening. My name's Christopher Curry, and I'm here I live at 21 Daunton Drive, Rochester, New York, 14624. I'm here to seek a variance to build my garage, build a garage about 20 feet wide and about 25 feet in the back, which we have the space. And
We're requesting the 5 feet.
And we are only
10.
requesting 5 feet because the other 15 feet seem to be okay. We have an extra 10 feet, so we're gonna be 5 feet from the property line. And so that's basically what we're requesting, just to build a garage and have 5 feet from my neighbor's property. And that's basically it.
Okay, thank you. Jim, any questions about the setback variance?
No, so the garage is 20 feet wide and 24.7 deep, or the opposite?
Well, yeah, we have a lot of space in the back of it, so they told us we could probably go even further back, but we think about 25 feet going back and about 20 feet wide.
Okay.
15 was good with the town, but we needed an extra 5 feet to make the garage a little bit bigger, even though we have 10 feet. So we basically say that can't go probably past 5 feet.
Okay.
So you're matching the house with the 24.7, so that would be your depth of deck.
Yep, so it's the same depth as the house.
Right. And then,
Yep.
as you're referring to, you first looked at a garage with a width of 15 feet,
15.
but you want it to be 20 feet, which is why you're here for a 5-foot setback.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And I was just looking at, there's a 25.1 feet of the driveway.
Yeah.
Well, if
and
it's 20 feet, it's not really to scale.
Right. No, it's not to scale.
So it actually is a little bit, the width is a little bit less than the driveway.
Right. 5 feet.
Bill, I got.
The only question I had on late, you took it. No other questions.
If you wanted to scale it, you could take the 12.5 on the back shed, split the difference, and draw a line down, but I'll come back to you if you have anything else, Mark.
Thanks.
Keep
Fred?
thinking, though.
Keep thinking.
I'm thinking. No, I don't have anything. I know a 15-foot two-car garage, it seems almost impossible, so.
That's correct, yeah.
Phil?
No questions.
Side table, anything to add? All right, open up the public hearing. Not seeing any hands for the public hearing. Asking for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion?
Motion's there a second?
Second.
All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So I will, one condition of approval, you'll have to get a building permit. You've already applied for that, been denied, didn't come here, so just continue on that path with the building department. And I will declare the zoning board as lead agency, and based on the information and evidence presented at this hearing, find this application to be a type 2 action of no significant environmental impact. Is there a second?
Second?
There's a second. All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'd ask for a motion to adopt this application with that one condition of approval.
Yes.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Board vote. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes. Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
I also vote yes. You're all set with this. And once again, can't stress it enough, continue to work with the building department and our fine staff there, and they'll help you through the whole process.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, application number 4 is the application of Dylan Taylor, 47 West Forest Drive, Rochester, New York, 14624. The owner for a variance to A, erect a pool in the front yard, which is not permitted per code, and B, an accessory structure, the pool, to be 13.8 feet from the front yard setback where 40 feet is required at the property located at 47 West Forest Drive in the R-1-15 district. Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, my name is Dylan Taylor. We're looking to install a pool in this location. It was described that, we would be able to fit this pool in the opposite corner. There's currently a tree there. It's hard to see on like Google Earth, but I took a picture of it if you'd like to see that. My son named it Treaty, so we'd like to not kill him.
So it'd be a significant financial burden to have to take that whole tree down. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it'd be break his heart.
Gotcha. And you'd lose the shade in the backyard.
It'll be shade worthy someday. It's still growing.
Gotcha. All right. Jim, questions?
I guess I didn't see that tree back there.
Yeah, it's
It looked like
Yeah,
it
if
was
you
a
could-
little
if you've got an
sapling,
image, you
but-
can.
it's trying, man.
So, really to take it down is, it's not a huge tree, but that's all I got.
So I guess the question is, why did the tree go on that side instead of putting the tree in the front yard and putting the pool where the tree is?
Tree was there prior to us moving in.
Gotcha.
I believe I saw older pictures. There used to be like a row of trees
Mhm.
along that side. This picture.
That's all you have?
That's all I got.
I'm going to take on to your question. Do you mind?
No, go ahead.
Going to do that?
You sure can.
So if approval came down to moving the tree and putting the pool there or not having a pool at all, what's more important to you?
For me, I don't really care. For the rest of my family, they really would like the tree there. Other concerns about that area, it's a lot more flat. It's not really sloped at all. Any water that falls there kind of just sits, so we'd have to probably grade it more to allow for water to flow away from the pool. But yeah, besides that, not much.
Okay, I think I'm going to jump in. So just to explain what our role is today, is we're relating it to the code. And the
Yes.
code is obvious that it doesn't want it there, it's prohibited.
Right.
So I appreciate the family's sentiment on it, but
Yeah.
we take into consideration that this stays with the land. So if you ever sell this property or 50 years from now, we are approving that
Yep.
this structure can be placed in this outside of our code.
Yes,
So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, it doesn't, I don't see it imposing any kind of unsafe situation. As far as keeping with the aesthetic of the neighborhood, I feel it does. There is another home about a block up that has a tree in the front setback.
A tree, but not
Or,
a pool.
I'm sorry, a pool in the front yard, between the home and the road.
Gotcha.
So I believe that it can,
And this is going to be a more permanent pool. It's not one of the
correct. Yeah,
temporary ones.
yeah, just like the other home.
Yep.
It has a permanent pool,
And it looks like it's going to be a 24-foot diameter?
yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Brett?
So that is going to be, the pool's going to be how far from your property line?
It's going to be 13.8 feet.
And you're depicting a fence there. How tall are you planning on that fence to be?
For just a 4-foot fence.
That would be the right answer, because if it was going to be taller than that, we've
Right.
got a separate issue.
Yeah, I guess, looking at that tree, at least, I'm not a professional, but it looks like that tree is able to be moved. So you can move it to where you would put the pool, and then be able to put the pool in the back. It seems hard, it's kind of hard to juggle the concept of, the tree versus the pool.
Yeah, I mean, and also just,
I apologize. but
Yeah, no, I understand.
The pool, the tree is definitely movable.
Right.
If there's not, it's not like a 15, 20-year tree.
Right. Yes,
So that's,
Are replaceable.
yeah, well, I mean, you can easily move it.
Yeah.
So I kind of have a problem with
Right.
granting a variance for
so it'd just be
something.
avoiding the cost of moving it, and
Yeah, it's not that much, and actually, that tree's not
it's not,
that big that you can't do it yourself,
right. And it's just also like the area not sloping away. We already kind of deal with a little bit of ponding back there that,
Yeah,
Of where the pool is or where the tree is?
where the tree is
Okay.
currently.
Well, that's going to definitely change when you put a pool there.
If we
With
put,
the tree, we don't have an issue.
Right. Well, the other side, it's going to change over there, too.
right, and we hope to continue the slope. It's it's a Class A soil, everything should perk well. The water table's over 6 feet deep, according to Web Soil Survey. So any water that did infiltrate would percolate for a while before getting to groundwater. Or a decent
I
distance.
don't have anything.
No questions.
Side table, anything to add? Go ahead and open up the public hearing. Not seeing any hands. Ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All right. Paul, I want to make sure my terminology is right. This is called a pool permit, correct? We'll need him to get a pool permit. We give such things in the town. We don't see them much here. All right, so that'll be one condition. What's that? Oh, thanks. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, because we did the motion in the second.
We did
Thanks.
that.
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thanks, Sandy. All right, so once again, that condition of approval is that a pool permit would need to be obtained. And I really think I'm going to step ahead and really explain this with whichever direction ours goes, if something is denied and it's permitted somewhere else on the property, that means you don't have to come back here. You can go put it on the other property. If we approve it here, then it can go in that area and it stays with that land forever. So if your pool is a nice round one that's 4 feet tall, somebody 25 years from now can take that down and put another one in. So I just wanted to explain that to everybody. Doesn't mean a brand-new in-ground pool necessarily can go in, except for that's a question I want to ask side table is, we're doing a structure that's proximity to the front setback. So if someone wanted to convert this structure to still be 13.8 feet from the front yard setback, and it's a pool, say an in-ground pool, that would be permitted, correct? We're not restricting it to a round 24-foot diameter pool.
I think what you're voting on is an accessory structure,
Okay,
so whatever that may be.
correct. Well, yes, we said
It's
that.
even an accessory structure, not even just a pool.
That's true, as any structure would be allowed in the front. That's a good point. So this decision we're hashing out tonight, we could have a pole barn put in 13.8 feet from the front setback, because it's an accessory structure, as long as it's within the size requirements that are allowed.
Can't restrict it to a 24-foot pool as a...
I don't believe so. Can we? I don't think we can restrict it specifically to the dimensions of the application like you can.
I think, Mr. Chairman, because the code references that the pool is considered an accessory structure,
Right,
you're looking at accessory structures,
right.
whether that be a pool, in-ground, above ground,
Right.
a shed,
Shed, a gazebo,
whatever.
yes. And the point, or the question that's come up is, can we hear it specific to a 24-foot round accessory structure? That's the council. Correct. Normally it isn't, because you're going to the plane 13.8 feet to the plane of the front setback is that variance request. And then the accessory structure is different.
In consultation with my legal, that 13.8, he could put an addition on his house to 13.8. You are basically allowing a 13.8 setback,
Correct.
right? Regardless of what.
Correct. That's what I'm mentioning is, it's the plane for the
That's
variance
correct.
for the front
Whatever-
setback is for
right.
the plane all the way along that front setback.
That's correct.
And a secondary request is for the variance for the accessory structure.
Correct, to allow the unpermitted structure
clear?
in the front yard.
So he could actually extend his house.
Correct, with the
He could.
13.8.
Yes, sir.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to explain is it's the plane of the front setback or the rear setback or the side setback.
Are
This
you
one has
able
be-
to put restrictions on it? It has to be 4 feet tall and
That's,
round?
that's a different regulation. The 4 feet tall is because that's what pool regulations are. The fence, we have a code that says it
Yeah.
can be 4 feet tall. If you wanted a 6 foot, you'd have to come back to us for a 6 foot for variance for that. Which we have had some people come in, some be denied, some did not. But I just want to make that clear on these two variance requests, is they are two distinct ones in this case. And even though it says to erect a pool in the front yard where it's not permitted, the not permitted is the accessory structure. And then the secondary one, or the second one, not even secondary, but the second one is the 13.8 is a front yard setback, regardless of what's constructed. Just for the board to consider that of what we do for accessory structures in front yards with the setbacks that we allow on the front. And this one is another unique parcel in that it's right on that corner.
Two front yards.
Right, so there's two front yards. Or in this case, it's on a curve. All right, that cleared that up for everybody, so we are gonna vote on these separately. And I will declare the zoning board as lead agency and based on the information evidence presented at this hearing, find this application to be a type 2 action of no significant environmental impact. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that went through. Motion to adopt this application with that one condition of approval. We'll start with 4A, which is the accessory structure in the front yard.
So shouldn't it be 13.8 feet from, they're both West Forest Drive, aren't they? Because essentially, the front yard could be either the side or the front, right? Without being specifically saying where it's from.
So the way our code is we've got it as a primary front and a secondary front. Correct, Paul? And how did you define this one? Because it's your definition of which one's which.
Where's his driveway come off of?
His driveway comes off of
South
The
side.
south side.
south side.
South side your primary,
So this
east
is
side your
secondary.
So this is in the secondary then, right?
So this is the secondary.
Right.
So if I was to label anything, I would label it 13.8 feet
From the secondary front yard.
front.
That good, Jim? And the reason to explain to you why we do that is because if we don't distinguish between that, and we just write front setback, that means the structure could actually be put on the south side of your house, 13.8 feet from that road.
Right.
And that's not what you're looking for, and that's not what we're considering tonight. All right. So I'm asking for a motion to adopt this application with that one condition of approval for the pool permit must be obtained.
Motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Board vote. Jim?
No.
Mark?
No.
Brett?
No.
Phil?
No.
I also vote no. So in terms of the accessory structure, it's not in there. We did vote no on that one. Once again, your pool can go into the other area. We're not saying you can't have a pool on your property, you can't have a shed on your property, just not in that location. Along with that, with this denial, I see no need to move on to the next one. Is that accurate, council?
You should vote.
We should still vote on it? Okay. So we'll move on to 4B, which is the front setback. Ask for a motion to adopt this application with a condition of approval.
Motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Board vote. Jim?
No.
No. Mark?
No.
Brett?
No.
No.
I also vote no, so it was denied on that one. One thing to clarify with this denial tonight is if you ever did decide you wanted to put in a shed or a gazebo in that other area, we may consider that to be distinctly different or substantially different from your current application, if you so choose to do that. I may be out of place saying that tonight, but just wanted to let you know that we're not saying that it has to be a barren ground forever in that area, and you do have some flexibility to be able to use that.
Yep.
All right, so thank you for coming in. Sorry it wasn't the answer you wanted, but I wish you luck with the pool and moving the tree. All right, moving on to application 5, the application of New Ebenezer Seventh-day Adventist Church, 2710 Chili Ave, Rochester, New York, 14624. The owner for a variance to erect A, an illuminated sign, intermittent rotating, moving, not permitted. B, moving, flashing, rotating signage not permitted. And C, internal illumination of monument sign not permitted at property located at 2710 Chili Ave in the R-1-20 district. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Holman, and I'm here representing the New Ebenezer Seventh-day Adventist Church, as you mentioned, 2710 Chili Avenue. We're requesting a variance for an electronic sign. We think that sign would be excellent to inform the community of what we're doing. We're not trying to make it a distraction, but I guess one of the better ways to communicate with the community of what we're doing, what we'd like to do, and invite the community is an electronic sign. The other type of sign means going out there in all kinds of weather, making changes. We can make subtle changes quickly for any kind of programs that we're having there that can benefit the church or the community. Smoking clinics, dietary issues. We're also going to be a polling place as it was before, and that's the property that was previously the Park Minister Church.
Excuse me. All right, thank you. Jim, any questions?
So this is going to go in the same exact location as the other one?
Correct.
Like one-for-one, same place?
Excuse?
It's going to be, it's the same size and everything?
It's the approximate same size. I believe you should all have a picture of the artist rendering, and the size measurements should be there. Do you have them, or?
We have the artist rendering of the new one.
Yes, that's the latest one.
Yes.
We made changes working with the zoning to making sure we changed the color, which also reflects the trim of the church.
Right, but you don't have it compared to the existing sign, correct?
It is the approximate same size.
Right, but you don't have a rendering comparing the two. You've only got a rendering of the new one.
Correct.
Okay.
So they got
Mark?
Am I reading this application correctly? It says no moving, rotating. You want to have that permitted. For what reason do you want it rotating?
Well, if it cannot rotate, we understand, but the biggest thing we're looking for is have an electronic sign that presents to people to be able to see what's going on. We understand that if you have rotating, spinning, flashing, that can be a distraction. We're not trying to do that. We just want to make sure we keep people in the community informed of what it is we're trying to do. Those kinds of things, we have no problem with complying.
So can we amend,
Yeah.
see if they wanted to amend their application
Yep,
based
and-
on that? I appreciate that stance. It does help from my perspective, decision-making for this board. So you're okay moving forward without the flashing, rotating, as long you want us to consider an electronic sign without those features?
Correct.
Is that correct, sir?
That's
But
correct.
you still want it to be changeable in a certain frequency, correct? So for instance, it's got one static message here, and then say 30 seconds later with a transition of
Correct.
maybe 1 second, message 2 comes on.
That correct.
And it's a static message that's intermittently changing.
Correct.
Therein lies the rotation.
Right, so that's where we need to define what rotation is, because I think we're describing a graphic showing things zooming in and flying in and saying
That- we
chicken
don't wanna do
barbecue or daycare service.
Polling
And,
place.
and, yes, and that's where we have to get to the definition of rotating is that transition of from message to message.
Correct. That's how the town looks at it.
Right.
We're more than willing to make adjustments because we're not trying to make it a distraction. I think I follow your train of thought. So if there was a message up there, something happening on this date, if that needs to stay there and another day we can change it,
Right.
or to a different message or something, we're willing to comply with that.
Okay.
We just want to be able to communicate in the best way to the community versus going door to door and doing a whole lot of flyers, and people could come by and see what we're doing.
Kind of like the latter of what you just described, to be perfectly honest, to try to come to, I think, a reasonable expectation and still serve your needs. I guess I'm not real clear on the last one, and where it says illumination of a monument sign.
So that is specifically to internal illumination.
It is
So
internal
It's all because
illumination.
our code allows external, either downlit or uplit, no internal illumination. So people that are coming in with either a plexiglass or a plastic covering with internal illumination, or this one is counted as an internal illumination.
So that's what it's referring to.
Yeah, and I believe the internal illumination would be the top part with the new Ebenezer Seventh-day Adventist Church.
It has the ability to do that, have just the top part illuminated with the name of the church, and also has the ability to illuminate where the message is.
Yep.
And typically where the message is will be where the lights are to be able to read the message.
Yep.
And there's a timer on there. It can be dusk to dawn if that would need be, or whatever the zoning permits, we can adjust the sign to make it happen.
Yep, understood. Because once again, it's not like they're using a projector to put the messaging on there. They're internally illuminating lights to give the message. They just happen to be LED lights, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Isn't
I appreciate that.
the one that's
clarification.
existing, isn't that internally lit?
Yeah.
So why would they need,
Because I think they were pre-existing, not.
oh, pre-existing non-conforming?
Or
okay.
pre-existing, not unknowing.
It's a changeable copy sign, I'm not sure if that that was internal.
I think it was internally illuminated.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think it was.
I thought it
I don't
was.
think it was. I think
Which one?
Covered it up with their new
the sign,
sign.
Mr. Holman, the sign there.
Or maybe I'm thinking of across the
existing
street.
sign,
Existing sign has uplighting.
that's
Oh,
Has
that's what it is.
uplights? Okay. I
Must
apologize.
be across the street, I'm thinking. There's a church in that area that has illuminated.
We approved that.
one, you
That's
just
what it
approved
is.
it a couple months ago.
Yes. Yep.
6, 7 months ago.
And then the funeral
Down
home is
street.
the other one I'm thinking of out there.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, I'm all set.
All right. Fred?
To be honest with you, I have to let you know, I'm not a fan of changeable signs. I understand the purpose of it. I have a hard time swallowing it. I also just want to make sure you're not, is the other one the whole sign pre-existing non-conforming? Because I thought that came to,
That was a changeable copy, they have a variance for that changeable copy.
okay, but I'm concerned about the sign height.
Sign height is the same as what that.
So this one's going to be the same?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I wanted to make sure, because
Yeah.
we didn't see anything that showed the existing sign. So I didn't want you to come back for a
Understand?
change of that, you're 2 inches off or something. Okay, I don't have any questions.
Phil?
Just our definition of moving, intermittent lighting, all that thing. So when you're envisioning this sign, you may have messages that require more than one display?
Well, currently, as here, it's capable of 4 rows.
Correct.
So you
Yes,
could
that-
have closed giveaway July 4th.
Right,
The second line might say food pantry open
Yes.
2 to 4 on Tuesdays.
gotcha.
So you could have more than one message,
Yes,
but one message on each of the lines, or it could be
Yes.
one message.
correct.
But nothing's going to be flashing on, rotating around, spinning. So it'd be static.
Yeah, so the purpose of my question was, when you have a message that may require 8 lines, you can't say,
Go
you
ahead.
may have an extended sentence that you can't get all in one display, so it may have to finish in the second.
That is our job to craft it so it's as succinct as possible.
Well, I'm okay with that, I'm just saying that that's probably your explanation for having to make a moving or an intermittent, because you can't get it all out in one message, in one display, if you're confined to 4 rows of text.
We will have to make it so to fit into what the zoning requires.
Gotcha.
Can we redefine or clarify our definition? of-
Yeah, that's my problem with that.
Because I think we're all.
Because sometimes you might not be able to, and I want,
Well, that's true.
I don't want to stand in your way. I don't want the language to get in
Understand.
the way if you're just trying to complete a statement.
I'm here with the request and to get clarification
Yeah.
so that if indeed we're approved, we stay within the boundaries.
So, go ahead and answer your question.
So it goes back to the same ones we've had on all these as they've come up is, are we allowed to put in restrictions of, or clarifications of what intermittent means? Meaning, it's a static image of a maximum of 4 rows of text for a 24-hour period.
You can set forth time blocks if you want.
And in addition to that, time blocks as well, not just hours of duration, but
Right, you would
from
say that-
6 a.m. till 11 a.m.
You can do that 6 to 11 or what, but it's my understanding, you can also set forth that one static message can be there for 4 hours and then it can change to another
Right.
static message. That's under your purview. Do you have the previous conditions for any of the other signs we've done?
I do not up here. And I know it's been changing over time because it started with the American Legion and then we had the town's one.
Firehouse.
And, yeah,
The town that broke every rule.
right.
There was, I know in the previous ones, there was certain lumens.
Yeah, the American Legion, we did
There was a
very
color-
strict.
Yeah, there was a color involved, it couldn't be anything more than an amber.
Right.
There was certain lumens that
Right.
could be, I believe you set forth time restrictions and that it had to be shut off at.
On that one, we did because a neighbor requested it, correct. But those were supposed to have been, and I believe they were incorporated to some extent into the new code, so that we didn't have to do that.
No,
Some of
because if
it-
it's either restricted or not restricted.
The site code basically hasn't changed,
Bummer.
yes.
Anyway, so I think we're still on that one, and we'll specify, we'll come up with what we think they are in terms of a I don't want to call it a frequency, but a duration, a minimum duration that it can be, because maximum duration, we would obviously be okay with, because that means it's staying static longer. So we would be imposing a condition, what's everybody think is a suitable time duration?
I guess one of the other concerns is the size of the text. I mean, this is saying up to 6 inches of text is like
Yeah,
huge.
yeah, and it's, we'd have to see how far back off the road that is.
One of the things that they took into consideration was the setback from the road determining the size of the letters.
And the
So-
speed of the traffic going by.
Correct, and the speed of the traffic in that street.
I don't have a problem with that.
Right, and that's right at the intersection of Pixley. So that's got the turn lane in it, plus the 8-foot shoulder. Not to say it's a 5-lane road, but it's pretty darn
So it's
close.
staying in the same location,
Yep.
same size.
Yep.
Actually, as I was just looking, the old size is actually on the application.
The size, but I don't, did it say the letter size?
No, it doesn't.
Right.
It says 3.5 by 8 feet.
In terms of the sign, the message sign area.
This is 4 feet, 8.5 by 8 feet. So
I guess, as a question to you, sir, do you happen to know on that old changeable copy sign that's out there now, what size are those letters that get changed out? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay.
Because those are very visible.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're either gonna be 4 or 6 inch, maybe even 8. I don't think they're 8.
No, I don't believe they're 8.
Yeah, I think they're, I drive by that way every 12
It's
that
about
big.
4.
So that's about a 4 inch.
I mean, they're easily red. I read it.
They are.
Yeah.
So what that would change it to is they still have the same messaging. They could almost get it to 5 rows of text instead of 4 rows of text.
Yeah, and I was just looking at their specs. I don't know if they can change the size of the text or not.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm sure they
Yeah.
can do whatever they want.
Look at the ads.
Yeah, it's all bubbles. There's millions of lights there.
You can do it all
Yeah, you
this
can
right
make a
down
whole
here.
picture there.
Yeah.
The issue I have with these is you could put an entire image on there.
Right.
Yeah,
We
That's
want
why
it to
I'm
be
kinda-
text.
It is capable of doing that, but we don't have to do it.
Correct. That's what we don't want to see.
But,
But we can't restrict it.
thank you.
They got 57,
I'm just stating my opinion.
5,600 pixels, so they
Yeah, we cannot really restrict the backgrounds of it. I'll admit to that, but
now,
Well, you can't restrict whether he's got six lines of 3-inch
Right.
or
Right.
2 lines of 18-inch.
right. Nor can we restrict the content he puts on.
It's basic, it's an area and the parameters involved
Yeah.
with the sign.
Yep.
So going back to my question is, what's a duration you all feel comfortable with that it's not rotating or it's not changing? I personally don't like the word rotating, but that's the way the code's written.
Well, I guess the question being, are we going to ask them, I wish we had the conditions for the town and child and fire department. Maybe that's what Paul said. but-
Talk amongst yourselves.
So there was that, there was Clifton, there was 2 of them.
Yep, the 2 fire departments, yeah.
And I'm curious to see what those conditions are.
and what about the brightness too?
Well, that was with the fire department.
Yep.
We went deep dive.
And what color is this going to be? Is the letter's going to be red all the time, or is it like you could pick any color?
You can choose.
You can choose, okay.
I think if you look at like St. Pius X Church, actually, they might be black and white. But black and white is kind of a neutral. It's not a heavy color. Well, I don't know what we can restrict.
921 is Clifton's.
We can do the 5 rows of
So if you were to make a list, I mean, I would be concerned about the size of the text. What
I think
kind of
we can
colors
control
are
it.
associated with
He says we can.
So Clifton, I don't have us
Yeah,
having
but-
anything other than needing a sign permit.
it. And maybe we just did it for the town of South Florida.
There was more to Clifton than that, though.
I just read the decision
They had
sheet.
to come back, though.
Might have just refined it
Right,
for
he tabled
for
it,
the
he came
Charlie
Right.
Fire Department. I think, 'cause we were concerned about it being in the center of town.
Right.
And what impacts it would have.
That's what I mean, like, he tabled it, and then that came back.
I'll try and find another decision sheet, but I didn't see anything on that decision sheet.
That was Evans, right? He presented that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think they ever put it up either.
You asked a question before
got
in
it.
terms of the duration of the information, so would it be appropriate if we had a message in the morning and a different message in the afternoon?
That's what we're getting
That's-
at, is
okay.
if we would allow such a thing, because if we pick a minimum of 24 hours, that means the same message is going to be on for 24 hours. If we pick 4 hours, then you can have a message changed every 4 hours. So the conditions we had for the Chi-Li Fire Department is our most recent one in October of 2020, is the sign light settings will be set at a maximum of 0.3 foot candles at a distance of 30 feet. The sign will only be one color, and amber tone was that color. The sign will display static images only, no rotating, flashing, fading, or animations. Restricted to one message per day, except for conveying emergency alert messages. Sign will not display pictures or live action images, and the sign lighting will be off between the hours of 11 PM and 7 AM, except for conveying emergency alert messages. So just to point out to the board, that's what that one was. Clifton was,
So can we pause there while we're doing our discussion?
Yep.
Does any of that sound unreasonable to you?
No, we were just saying, we would be comfortable with one message a day. So if we're going to make a change in the program time from 6 AM to 7:30, we'll just change it the next day.
And that's what I was kind of thinking,
I mean,
because it's off at night, and it kind of like clears it,
right.
and you start out fresh the next morning with something new.
And there is an area of there, it's commercial, but there's also residential out there
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have we ever discussed, or is there any kind of guidance around, any protocol around why you would want to limit to one static message per day? Is there rationale for that?
Yeah, I mean, we just don't want, we want it to be, you want to give the people applying the convenience of the electronic message, but we just,
The distraction
has
that,
been not to have it look like it's a,
Vegas.
Correct.
an actual dynamic sign.
Right. But so I'm sensing two things, aesthetics, and I would think probably another thing would be safety.
yes,
Right,
traffic
right, I mean, we
safety.
got a bunch of, so, I mean, so what I'm saying is if say an organization felt a need to display a couple messages a day, would we really have a problem with that? Is that, so
Well,
what?
he can adjust his sign height, he's got 5 or 6 lines.
Right,
I mean, 4 lines or whatever it was.
I think that's something that the board has to kind of agree on, because
I-
it ultimately comes
Oh, I
into the
follow.
decision of when we vote on it.
Thank you.
I think what we did for,
I would be in favor of anything other than,
yeah, I think what we did with Chi-Li Fire, because they also have to look at Chi-Li Fire coming back and saying, well, you let him do that.
yeah.
You know, and people,
we came a long way.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, to me, I think the big thing about moving messages and bells and whistles and all that is a matter of safety, especially in a well-traveled route like that and an intersection. We don't want people
It's a
taking
re-
second and third looks at
Like you
signs
said,
because
it's
they're
a
switching.
it's a commercial road
Right.
with residential.
Right.
And you don't want somebody looking at a sign, reading it, and taking their eyes off the road
And pulling up to
And
the
it-
intersection.
and having a kid run out
Right.
in front of the car. And
Right.
This is why I was looking at the sign, that would be,
Right. Or pulling up to a turn lane.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, I guess I don't see that we can't maybe permit a couple of messages a day if they feel they need to, because sometimes it might be
Need
a.
to be consistent.
yeah, I agree with the consistency of what we've came up with.
So once again, the conditions, we had 6 conditions before. Sign permit must be obtained. Sign light settings will be set to a maximum of 0.3 foot candles at a distance of 30 feet. Sign will only be one color, amber tone. Sign will display static images only. No rotating, flashing, fading, or animations. Restricted to 1 message per day except for conveying emergency. So that wouldn't be relevant to this one.
Right.
Because they're not an emergency response organization. And then sign will not display pictures or live action images. We made sure that that was different than our condition before about the rotating, flashing, fading, or animations there. And sign lighting, in this case, sign lighting will be off between the hours of 11 PM and 7 AM. Those are the 6 that we did previously.
That was for the Legion, Chad. That's the one I handed you is the Legion.
This is Legion.
That's the one that started it all.
Yep. And this
We
one,
copied it with the fire department though, too.
Well, I think we improved.
we improved on it, yeah. We did copy some of them in there. Actually, I'm not even sure they're using amber as the color at the fire department. Nor do I think we've measured this 0.3 foot candles. But yeah, you're right, that was a copy paste from that's on,
Legion,
yeah, I'm trying to think, Scottsville, Chi-Li Road,
yeah.
old Scottsville, or,
Striker.
yeah, right at Stryker. Okay.
The only thing I wanted to point out, there's no address on the street sign. I'm looking at, or you got it on that one? You got it on that one?
It's on this one.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was looking at this one, it didn't.
Yeah, no, the architectural advisory advised them.
I do
of
have
that.
another copy if you need one.
No, it's all right.
Oh, and to point out, we did not have 1 static per day, or 1 image per day on the American Legion. We did at the fire department, so that's the improvement we did.
That's right, so we've been progressing over time.
So I guess one thing I'd like to bring up is this whole thing about amber tone. To go back in history, that was specific to the Legion's application that they put
the
in for
red.
the grant.
For the red one.
No, the amber is their yellowish. It's a yellowish orange.
Yeah, but they wanted.
The fire
red.
department does red, even though we told them to do amber.
I thought it was in.
When I've driven by, I've seen a couple different colors on the fire department one.
Yeah. Those guys.
So I guess what I'm getting at is, do we want to be that restrictive on colors?
My preference would be it looks like a sign, which is black and white. I mean, I don't like the
With a
color.
black background with white letters.
Yeah, either
Right.
black background or white background, and correspondingly the opposite color.
Well, it's going to be a
Look
black
at any of the
background.
churches around, most of their signs are black and white. It's either black print or white background, white letters, black background. I feel that colors is more of a carnival, but,
So what I'm getting at is a single color, but not restricting it to amber.
I think it goes away from what the sign is meant to give them convenience, but not to be flashy.
Well, I want to be reasonable too, right? So what is your preference? Now your rendering is showing black background.
That's for the rendering that they
Or
sent us.
white.
If it needs to be white, we can go back to our sign company, make it white with black letters.
What would you prefer though?
I would prefer the white letters.
White letters with a black background.
The dark background, I think make it black, that's
Or
fine.
dark background. You're okay with that?
Okay with that.
That's as it's pictured.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for, I want to be able to give them convenience, I don't want to give them the flash.
Right.
Well, no, I understand that.
And-
Well, that's what we restrict on the foot candles. That's the intensity of the illumination visible from farther out. Because a white is going to be more of a contrast, harsher on the eyes than going to red or amber or yellow. Well, not yellow.
But it is much more, I mean, if you look at Anchor, if you look at St. Pius, you look at any of those, I think they've all got white backgrounds and black letters. I mean, just something that's plain.
Like, I understand where he's at, and that is more palatable for me to accept, you know.
And the gentleman is saying black and white. He's okay with white on black, so.
What's that, Paul?
I believe the vast majority of signs that Mr. Wiesner is talking about are changing the copy signs.
Right.
Which is typically a white background with a black letter.
As opposed to a black background with white letters. All right, so board is in agreement of putting the conditions on there as I read them.
You guys say you want to read them back? Or
I will read them back, but I just want to get through that first step of you want all 6 of them on there with the exception of the conveying emergency alert messages. And then we'll go through each of them to fine tune them, but you want all 6.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So sign permit must be obtained, that one's done. Any objections to the sign light settings will be set at a maximum of 0.3 foot candles at a distance of 30 feet.
I guess the question I have is that realistic? That was specifically taken, I think, off a sign specification from another manufacturer.
It was from the sign specification out of the sign regulations for proximity with the road distance and perspective view, from what I remember.
It was a general,
Yeah, it's just a rule of thumb.
okay, I'm good with that.
Let me ask this question. Is the building department able to check that?
The applicants aren't even able to check that. Nobody's.
I didn't know if it was a setting in the keyboard.
No, because you have to be 30 feet away. You have to actually take a measurement 30
Okay,
feet
get your
away.
meter out.
Right.
Why does it say minimum? Shouldn't it say maximum?
It says maximum. Did I say minimum? It says a maximum of 0.3 foot candles.
Mine says minimum for the town of Charlotte.
That was a typo from back then.
You try to lead
Yeah.
Well, this is Charlie Legion, this is not Charlie, this is.
Yeah, this one's Legion. I'm reading the ones off of the fire department. It should be maximum.
Maybe we corrected it then.
Yeah, because you don't want it to be
Well,
minimum.
that's what I mean, I think we,
All right, so you're good with that. Sign will be only one color. Previously, we always said amber tone. I'm getting at, do we always want them to be amber tone? I mean, it goes against the color scheme that the architectural
I don't think it
advisory.
needs to be amber.
Amber's
I
ugly.
think that their preferences, they have.
Amber's
dark
ugly.
background
One
with a
color.
white light.
Right.
Amber's
They're-
ugly.
yeah.
Something consistent that's not flashy.
That goes on to the next one. It's going to static images only, no rotating, flashing, fading, or animations. It's restricted to 1 message per day.
That's fine.
But that message, one message or one?
The message is in the
You got
entire
4
area.
lines,
No, he has as many lines as he wants. He has an
and
area.
that's one message, and you're right.
And actually, now we're getting way into the weeds here. He actually has a monument sign that's 2-faced. So he could have a different message on each side. But they can't change. Are you following me? We're not changing his content. We're not saying how many rows he can have.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I don't think, my guess is the technology is only going to allow him to do ones on both sides.
Don't be.
I see a big smile on it.
I can't answer that part of the question, whether or not one ad and one on the other side.
So
But
do
now
we,
you're gonna look into it.
so
Yes, I
do we
will.
limit right now the amount of times per day that a church can change its message?
Not
on-
a church. We're
Or
talking about a message.
an organization, do we limit right now, if it were a non-illuminated,
No, if it's a changeable copy, they can change it as much as they want.
but yet we feel that we need to?
If they wanted to send somebody out there, they could change it every 5 minutes.
It's a
Right.
Gas stations do it every second.
Correct. I mean, I would just, all I was saying is I was lobbying for maybe moving forward the possibility of maybe changing a message once a day. What if an emergency, say, okay, so we're
But I
allowing.
think we're trying to stay consistent with the code that we've already kind of
Correct,
let
but
people do.
right, but we're allowing the fire department to,
They're in a different category.
oh, okay,
The only reason they're allowed to deviate from 1 per day is if it's an emergency alert.
Okay.
That's the only
but
reason.
we don't allow churches emergency.
They can't give emergency alerts.
May I make a comment?
Yes,
You
sir.
could.
I seem to have cause some conversation here.
That's good
But
conversation.
Our whole goal is to kind of upgrade how we're operating, not to cause a distraction, to be an asset to the community, and yet we need to stay within whatever the parameters that you set for us, whether it's black on white, white on black. When you make the decision, we just want an illuminated sign, electronic sign, to be able to get the message and the word out of what we're trying to do there at 2710. So we in no way want to be a distraction to anything. So just let us know, as you're discussing, in clear parameters, and we will follow those parameters. And if there's any deviations, we have to come back for a variance and request.
We appreciate that.
And I'm not aware of any of the other places have any complaints or violations for transitioning in more than one day. So I think they've been adhering to it. With one exception. How technical do we want to get on this? Because, for instance, the fire department puts the date and time on, so technically that message is changing every second.
Right.
Every time the temperature changes, that message is changing every time the temperature changes. I don't have a problem with it. When I drive down there, it's no different than the banks have been doing for decades. In fact, Brockport, that was my favorite landmark on that corner where the circular bank. Always told me what the time was and always told me what the temperature was. But that was an old changeable light copy sign or a digital sign that changed
That's up to the building department to decide what they want to enforce.
Well, you're saying that,
I'm saying if they put a message on here that has the time, always in the upper right-hand corner, and that's the only message, if we tell him he can only do it once per day, he can't put the time up there.
but we're saying the fire department,
The fire department does it. The fire department's in violation. That's what I'm saying.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Correct. And I'm saying, are we trying to restrict it that much? Same with what Phil's trying to say.
I guess
think we're all-
what I want to
Yes, I agree.
What I want to differentiate from that is you are talking about there is a difference between a fire department and a church, where I think the church, they just want to get their message that Sunday mass is, or Sunday service, I apologize, is at 3:00.
Right.
Or, next Saturday's moved because Easter mass we're having, or Easter service, I apologize.
Or there's a
You know.
community event.
Yeah, so they're not interested, I don't think you're interested in telling the people what time it is.
No.
Okay.
But you might want to do a Sunday service, and by the way, there's a food cupboard.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm just reminding the board
Right.
that we're
That's what I'm
approving
trying
a
to- that's
sign
what I'm
for the
lobbying
property,
for.
Thank you.
Not a church and their messaging. We're approving.
Well, yes, okay,
So-
but that's where I guess I'm trying to keep it as restrictive, but still have them be able to use it.
Right, so I think
And I
we're back
think
to
that-
one message per day. Seems
Yes.
like the board's good
I'd
with
like to
that.
keep it
The applicant's
reasonable.
good with it.
Yes.
So we'll move on.
Consistent.
No pictures of live action images. That was specific to somebody trying to put in like a person swinging a baseball bat and the bat going along with it, or a picture of somebody doing it. We don't want pictures, we want it to be a textual sign.
Mhm.
Right, board member?
I'm
Good
good.
with
I'm good with it.
Good with that.
All right, and then the last one is if the board wants it to restrict the lighting to be off during the hours, because once again, this does tie to the other part of the code where we don't want internally illuminated signs. And this goes to our old comp plan and everywhere else where we didn't want it to be sign pollution, light pollution, everything else. Do we want to talk about sign lighting being off during those overnight hours? Because odds are you're not open from 11 p.m. till 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. So what benefit is there to have that out
Is
there,
that
other than the
reasonable?
advertising?
That is reasonable.
Especially
And we have the
being-
ability to have the dusk to dawn, or have it shut off at a specific time. As the days get longer, days get shorter. We can make those adjustments.
Yep. Yeah, and we don't get into the details of daylight savings time and things like that, but I do like that idea of, I don't think we need to go dusk to dawn, because then you lose quite a bit of time. So the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., I think is reasonable.
I think
It's the
it is, too.
darkest time of the days, other than the morning part. So we'll stick with those. And that's where we'll be at. So once again, sign permit must be obtained. Sign light settings will be a maximum of 0.3 foot candles at a distance of 30 feet. The sign will be only one color. Sign will display static images only, no rotating, flashing, fading, or animations. Restricted to one message per day. Sign will not display pictures or live action images, and the sign lighting will be off between the hours of 11 PM and 7 AM each day.
So when you say sign will only be one color, you're referencing the lighting.
Yes. I'm messaging, sorry, yes, I'm referencing the messaging part of it.
So,
Okay.
black background with white letters?
A dark
I-
background with,
I didn't even restrict it to that. I'm just saying it's gotta be one color. It's a,
I
Okay.
would not be in favor of a green or a red or blue or.
I have never seen an LED sign that's white background with black letters. Because the lights don't really allow that. It's always a black background because that's the media that
Well, I think
LED lights are
what Jim
on.
is saying, that he wants a black background with white letters.
So,
Compared to a
Not-
yellow background with bright green letters.
that's bright. I'll just tell you, that's bright. To take that entire LED and have every LED turned on and then just turn off the ones that aren't on is what you're pretty much doing. It's bright.
well, let's ask the applicant.
True?
Again, I think
Why-
I've heard from the applicant, dark background with white lettering.
We can make it happen.
Okay.
Just make it a
I think
black
that's fair as
background.
compromise and being
A
reasonable.
white background.
Just make it a black background.
Yep.
And you don't really care what color the lettering is. It's the it's the background that you're
Yes.
concerned about. For
Right,
Adam's,
that's-
Adam's point of
Yes, that's
glare.
your-
If
that's
it's
your
yellow,
pollution.
that's a huge
It's a
light
huge
coming off.
glare.
Yeah, that's a huge light coming off of there, right?
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing. Please address the AAC comments in your conditions.
Where did their letter go? I had it here. But then I had the revised one. I misplaced mine. Yeah, you got it.
I don't think I can have
I don't have them, Paul.
because I don't have it upgraded.
Audience members.
Oh, wait, no, I do have it. It's underneath a pen. Okay, they recommend that architectural elements of the existing building, black, brick and white trim, be incorporated into the design. Isn't that what that is?
That's a revised design.
Right, that's what we've been discussing tonight.
Yes, but I want that referenced in the conditions.
Oh, gotcha.
If you would, please.
So number 7 will be,
Mr. Hallman's gonna pull a fast one on me and put that almond thing up there.
gotcha. Well, no, I think Sign Command's gonna do that one. Or Stewart Signs will do that. So you must, we're going off of this one.
That's fine.
Gotcha. So going back to that color one with the background,
And then also these two.
what's the board's consensus on this one for, how do we want to restrict this with the backgrounds, the colors? And-
Asking again.
I'm asking again, because we got Jim with one opinion, my opinion's
I'm
differing,
okay
so.
with a dark background, and I
It's consistent with the black and white's very consistent with the other churches as far as what they've got. They've got a white background and black letters. I think if you go to Anchor, I think if you go to St. Pius, the Baptist Church on Chali Avenue, I think has the same thing.
So you're good with black and white.
But he wants them inverted from what it is here. He wants the whole thing white with black.
Yeah, I don't want the whole thing white.
I would be okay with the black background and white letters. I think that's more like a
And it would be our first one with white.
flashy without being
Right, we don't want flashy.
carnival like.
And the red, that, or even amber tone, to me, tones it down, but it also looks like what you would see with DOT sighting, or lighting, signs, or, emergency ones, like,
Right.
like fire departments like they do. But now they're all moving to different colors and everything else, so I think we're in agreement with that. Sign, lettering will be one color only, and we'll put it at white tone instead of amber tone. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay. A question, on the header where it says New Ebenezer Seventh-day Adventist Church, it's green, is that acceptable?
Yes, because that is not part of the changeable font.
Okay.
It's not a changeable font, but
I'm
it's
with
the
you.
one that we're changing.
That doesn't
letters
change,
on.
that's always going to be there.
Right.
And there's actually a way we can have that light on, so you could see that if there's no advertising programs.
Right.
And everything else would be dark. And then at the appropriate time, it can go dark as well.
Yep. That would be acceptable.
Then enter that as a condition, please.
The top illuminated one,
Yeah, I'm fine with that one being on 24/7. if
because
you want that.
that's still a part of the internal illumination monument sign, letter C.
You're saying that is acceptable?
So I'm saying, well, no, I'm saying that one's supposed to be off from 11 PM to 7 AM. You're saying you want it on from 11 PM to 7?
No, it can be off. I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I want the whole sign to be off.
Correct.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yep.
He's saying it may be on, but the messaging may be off.
Correct.
Right. That would be fine.
I think
If there's
it's
no
what-
message at that particular day.
Yep.
It still would say what the church
Yep.
is.
Yep. The church illumination, the green and white, that just needs to be off at 11 PM. Because that still counts under the illuminated monument sign. All right. All right, so I will open up the public hearing. Well, I'm not even going to ask the side table anymore. Yes?
Is the size of the font, the size of the text. Because I think
We can't restrict that.
Paul says we can't restrict.
We're giving them an area to provide that sign.
they could have letters that big.
And no one's going to see.
Right. Doesn't benefit them,
They
but
may
yeah.
see it on the opposite side of the sign.
They could
not on the
also,
roadside.
they could also make them as
2 feet wide.
big as the
Make them
whole
4
thing.
feet tall.
It could say boom. It could say,
And it's the same thing as the firehouse. They can make it as
yeah,
big as they want.
it could say hi.
Yeah, it just can't say "Go Bills." I mean, we. It cannot.
No, we'll let the logo in at that
Condition
point.
now. Go Bills. On
No,
Sunday.
no go Bills?
Yes.
The address, is that,
The,
it needs to
the,
be a condition?
no, the,
I can address that.
go ahead, sir.
The address is put on as the artist rendering, so you know we intend to put an address on both sides.
Right.
Where that brick area is.
Right.
If not, it would be at the top, but it will be visible on both sides of the
Right,
sign.
we have it that it has to be visible. It's not part of the sign calculation anymore.
Okay. All right,
Required by code.
Right,
yeah,
right.
okay.
And we don't, the AAC took care of where it needed to be, so it's on the base of it.
Okay.
Okay. Jim, what was the other thing?
I don't think I have any.
Background, white lighting.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Your question was the size of the font.
That'd be whatever. Who cares?
All right, so we're going to move on to the public hearing. Not seeing any hands. Ask for motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now, I will declare the zoning board as lead agency and based on the information and evidence presented this hearing, find this application be an unlisted action and no significant environmental impact. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we'll do the first one and the second one. Actually, we'll just do all three. Because it's all one sign. With those 7 conditions. Does everybody want me to read them again, or are we good?
No, I think we're gonna get confused. We gotta hear Jim again.
All right, so we will ask, or I will ask for a motion to adopt this application with those 7
Motion.
conditions. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All right, board vote. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Brett? I'll give you a
It's killing
coin.
me.
I'll give you a coin.
It's killing me. I'll say yes.
You don't have to. Phil?
Yes.
I also vote yes, so thank you for working with us on this.
Thank you for working with us. We're willing to work with you. And to the folks that are behind us, thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you all.
So when does the church
Thank you
open up?
for being understanding.
Thank you.
Did you say, when does the church open up?
We're working on that. If I may add a couple of caveats. If you've driven by, you've seen that we've done some work to the parking lot. We're also adding an elevator. We have some folks that have difficulty with stairs, so we're adding an elevator. And we're adding some other things to make it easier access for our members and visitors. So we're anticipating, depending on getting contractors, a baptismal pool to go in. We're working that process, so I'm anticipating August.
Cool. Good. All right.
As we work closer and closer, the date may be refined.
Good.
Do they have to get a
Put
full
that on your
permit?
sign, grand opening.
No, that is a religious exemption. There is no swimming in that.
A little too small. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to application 6, application of Expert Skiers Only LLC, Peter Feltner, 55 and 57 King Road, 191 South Union Street, Spencerport, New York, 559. Owner for a variance to A, allow front yard parking where it's not permitted, and B, erect a 6-foot fence in the front yard which is not permitted at the property located at 55 and 57 King Road in the LI District.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Cole Papasergi with Marathon Engineering. I'm here on behalf of Peter Feltner, who is the owner and applicant of King Road Self-Storage, located at 55 King Road, 55 and 57 King Road. He also owns the 2 westerly lots, which is up on this plan. All the parcels are zoned limited industrial, as well as the neighboring lots. And I'm here today to request the approval of 2 variances for the expansion of the property, or of the business. The original business was constructed in 2007, 6 buildings, and he's adding another 6 buildings and expanding the gravel self-storage, the surface storage. The 2 variances we're requesting specifically are for a parking in the front, which is not allowed, and we're requesting that the fence that is permitted in the front be 6 feet tall instead of 4 feet tall per code. A lot of this is as a result of combining 2 lots. So as shown here is a combination of 55 and 57. Kind of creates a abnormally weird looking lot where the front setback is different than it was previously for the existing business. And the security of a self-storage business kind of merits the use of a little bit taller fence to ensure adequate security of the belongings. Both of these are kind of continuations of what was existing business. There is parking in the front previously, as well as a 6-foot high fence around the previous establishment. So just kind of not unique to this property. We have received conditional approval from the planning board back in May, and conditional on these grantings of these variances. So with that, I'll open up for any questions.
You know the dimension from you're well beyond the 40-foot side setback on that side, but how far for that front parking from King Road are you?
From King Road,
King Road.
it's over 250 feet.
Okay. So you're not proposing and you're not even removing any of those trees from the front, so it's still going to be screened?
Correct. The trees up along the side of the private drive will remain.
Okay. Jim, any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Mark?
How tall is the existing fence?
6 feet.
Thank you.
They have barbed wire at the top?
No.
There's a cell tower on that property?
It is the 5th property to the west, which is up. So that
But that would not impact where these buildings will be?
nope. He owns the these two parcels, and then the tower is the next parcel up.
Okay.
So the access to that tower is the same private drive, but it's not owned by him.
Okay. And I guess it's, what I'm trying to get is it's a safe distance for any kind of fall zone. I think that's one of our requirements.
That's planning board side, but yeah.
Okay. I'm just,
No, I see what you're asking. That would have been a variance side if they needed that, like our next application to be.
yeah. Okay. I don't have anything for, and this is all going from your existing buildings, you're going back behind your existing buildings.
It's to the east of the existing building. So these 6 here are the existing buildings. And then the new buildings will be to the south and to the east.
The King Road is up front.
So to point out the reference, that's the railroad track on the side.
There's King Road there.
King Road.
Yep,
And this is the railroad track.
yep, and then 490's over here.
Yep, and 490 is down there.
Yep.
If anything, they're farther from King Road than the existing.
So there's no change to the vegetation that's existing? As Adam had said, all the shielding that's already there, you won't be taking any of the vegetation or the trees
So
down?
there is a stand of trees in this area. We will be taking a portion of that. We'll also be supplementing with some evergreens, thicker evergreens that would,
So you'll be
hold a better
thinning,
buffer.
but not taking it all out?
correct. There will
Right.
still be a stand of trees supplemented by new landscaping to the King Road side.
So I think what I'm visualizing there is adjoining properties along that are residential and the auto repair shop that's there. They will still have their screening right immediate adjacent to the property lines. They're taking off trees farther back and supplementing the screening with non-leaf falling trees to give some more year-round screening.
So they essentially, they should not see anything different than what they see today?
Right. In fact, they should see less eventually when those pine trees make it. All set, Jim? Yep. Mark?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Brett?
I'm good.
Bill?
No questions.
Side table, anything to add? All right, open up the public hearing. Yes, sir.
My name's Tony Caminelli, and I'm here with my neighbor, Tracy Belmont. We have the two properties on King Road in front of us. And I would like, we were just here 2 weeks ago.
At the planning board meeting?
Yeah.
Yep.
We're kind of wondering why this wasn't brought up then.
It's two different boards, so they don't have the jurisdiction to consider this. These are items that we have to hear at our board. They can't hear those, just like they made decisions on the review portions that they can do that we can't do here. So by our schedule, this is our regularly scheduled meeting. That was their regularly scheduled meeting. So they gave a conditioned approval for the applicant there, saying that it's met their parameters, but one of the conditions they have is that they have to get a variance from us here. So if we happen to grant a variance, that completes that one condition. If we do not grant the variances tonight, that then negates their approval that they had at the planning board. So that's why they're here tonight, is that those decisions couldn't have been made 2 weeks ago. They're different elements, even though it's the same project.
We would like to see the rendering.
Yep, he can flip that around for you.
No change to the rendering from our planning board meeting.
Okay, so that, to be clear, that is the same rendering that you saw 2 weeks ago, according to the applicant. So if you have any further questions, feel free to let me know what those are, and I'll see if we can address them.
Where will this parking be?
So if he can highlight where the parking is, there's a few spots, which, not to us, to them.
You can step a little closer to them.
Yeah. So you can go right up and show them where those are. How many new parking spaces are you adding from what was there before?
So we're not adding any new guest spaces, but what we are adding are surface storage
Yep.
spaces, which is
And point to where those are on the plan.
That's,
But the surface ones are not the front yard parking.
Storage for RVs, boats.
But to be clear, the front yard parking is for the guests, correct? You're not looking to have surface parking up front, or are you?
There are 4 existing surface parking spots outside the fence for guests.
Okay,
We're not making any changes to those.
yep.
And then expanding on the surface
So,
storage.
so how many of the surface storage are classified as front yard parking?
With the change of the definition of the area of what's front, all of them.
All of them? Gotcha.
It's kind of hard to define.
It is, and it's because it's a flag lot, so it's off of your properties there. And how far away from those properties are those? And once again, those are storage and not live, it's not live, they're inanimate objects. Those are not allowed to be operational vehicles, meaning you are not planning on headlights and taillights facing at these people's properties.
It'd actually be seasonal.
And it would be seasonal, yes.
Yes, so
That's their
that was
snow storage, so it's got to be seasonal.
one of the things we
Snow
considered
storage is there.
when putting those there was the seasonal nature of that parking, and typically that's more of a grab-and-go type item. It's someone parked an RV, grab the keys and go, versus people loitering at their storage units, sounds of garage doors opening and closing, and unloading for multiple hours.
Okay.
This,
And I just want to make sure to get the public's comments real quick before we jump back into his presentation. Sorry, Phil. Anything else, sir?
this stormwater management facility is on here, that's not there now.
Yep. So that is going to be a pond that they have to put in because of the amount of buildings and impervious surface, meaning that the water can't go down and gets eaten up by the grass anymore or soaked up by the grass. It's got to be contained into a stormwater pond to treat it, to get stone and things like that before we send it back into the drainage ways. So that's mandated by state regulations and federal regulations. So that's where that's going to go there. And that's where all their drainage is going to go to.
On the map where you're showing, I believe these are the additional evergreens that they propose to plant. I mean, if you kind of figure, what is the distance between the back of the pond?
I don't know. I don't know that answer. I'm guessing it came up at the planning board meeting. We're strictly looking at the front yard parking, allowing it or not allowing it. But I will ask the question of the applicant of,
Would there not be a required setback there?
no, not for trees.
No, between the two properties.
Yes, and that's what they're depicting there as a 60-foot front setback. What we have is a code requirement that prohibits parking of any vehicles in the front of a building or on the front part of a parcel. That's what they're here for tonight. It's one of the unique parts of our code that we have here. That's what they're here for tonight. But the setback that you're referring to, our code has it as being 60 feet from the back of your property lines, and they're beyond that. Well, they're right at it on one of the spots. But to answer your question of density of the trees, what are you planning on for that?
So the trees will be spaced staggered.
Yep.
So that better fill in the gaps. And there'll be, believe, with respect to white pine, which will be a more full type evergreen.
So probably enough that the staggering makes a complete as
Yes.
complete of a barrier as you can.
Yes, and those will be looked at in the field for
Yep.
best visual impact. There's also an existing grade that's up a little bit higher in that area, and the elevation of the neighboring houses and the elevation of the parking field are at the same level, so there is a natural berm there that will help.
Sir, next question, if you have any more?
I had a question.
I still want to keep.
Oh,
the public
I
hearing.
forgot. I thought you were talking to us. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Tracy Belmont, 53
Yep.
My main concern is, like, my backyard is a forest now. I have pictures of everything grown in, you know, and that's my main concern is that I don't want to see all that in my backyard.
Well, they are looking.
My oasis.
They
you know
are-
what I mean? Like I said, it's a complete jungle back there.
Yep, they are looking to
You have 10
maintain.
trees, you know what I mean? It's kind of like,
They're maintaining a portion of it, and they are looking to add in screening. But it is a sad fact to point out is, if they wanted to clear them all out, they really could. But their plan, they're not going to. So the town will hold them to that. They're not going to clear it out all the way to the property line. So, and in fact, they're going to add more on. So, I hope your oasis stays. I hope your oasis stays as well. And from what I'm showing there, they're not looking to disturb any of the immediate area you've got. Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, where it's showing these new trees being planted, and then it's bordered by that kind of curved line.
I'll be honest, I can't answer that. That's not in our packet. The screening of the trees, I can't answer too much because that's the planning board's packet.
Trying to identify this corner of the property here goes from where those trees stop back across our properties, and it's, and you know, then it's bordered in by the green area.
Okay.
So, not the green area, but the other part is between the green area and our properties. Is that?
I think this is what he's talking about, yeah.
Yeah, they're not looking to change anything there.
It's going to be left the way it is?
Right.
So, and that's pretty much written in stone?
Nothing's ever written in stone, but that's what I see on his, you're describing the dark green and the light green area on his rendering, and that's what the planning board reviewed and required them to put the dark green in, and the light green is just a depiction they have of where they're going to take trees out. The rest of it on that aerial image, excuse me, those trees and everything on that, I guess lack of a better, the southeast portion of it is going to remain the way it is, the wooded area that it is. Is that accurate, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Does that answer your question okay? So they drew lines on there of what they're, with the buildings and the roads that they're looking to put in. They're not looking to take anything else out. But it's, once again, it's never set in stone. If they wanted to clear those trees out later on, just because they wanted to, this board doesn't have any jurisdiction over that. We don't have a say yes or no. You're welcome. Anyone else? All right, ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Can I ask a question?
We'll do it
yes.
after the public hearing.
I'm sorry, yes. Second.
All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Phil, go ahead.
Describe the fence.
It's a chain link fence, 6 feet tall,
Okay,
Matching the existing.
matching the existing.
thank you.
All right. All right, so we'll move on to, I will declare the zoning board as lead agency and based on the information evidence presented at this hearing, find this application to be an unlisted action and no significant environmental impact. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we'll go on to letter A. We will do these ones separately. So the front yard parking where it's not permitted in this LI zone parcel. I don't have any conditions of approval for this one. But once again, we're focusing specifically on the front yard parking. Some of it was pre-existing, some of it's new. And I will ask for a motion to adopt this application.
So moved.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Board vote, Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
I also vote yes. So you've got the front yard parking. Now moving on to B, the 6-foot fence in the front yard. Ask for a motion to adopt this application.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, or wait, board vote, Jim? Sorry.
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And I also vote yes, so that one's all set. And in terms of the neighbors, just keep in contact with the town on it, and the applicant seems clear on what their intent is to do on this, and just keep in contact with them with your wishes, and hopefully he obliges.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
and we'll move on to number 7. Thanks for your patience tonight. Application of Crown Castle USA, Inc., Verizon Wireless, 4 Angela's Way, Burlington, Connecticut, for a variance to amend a grant variance that was granted in 2002. A, allow 130-foot tall communication tower where 112 feet is granted, and B, 155-foot setback where 145 foot was granted at the property located at 25 Rock Island Road, North Chi-Li, New York, 14514 in the PRD district. Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. Jared Luss with the law firm of Nixon Peabody, representing Crown Castle and Verizon Wireless in this application. As outlined in our May 23rd, 2023 application, Verizon and Crown are proposing what's called an eligible facilities request under federal law to extend the tower, the existing tower that's 120 feet tall to be 130 feet tall, so a 10-foot extension, and then to install the Verizon Wireless antennas on that 10-foot extension, as well as the ground equipment at the base of the tower within the compound. The existing Crown 56 by 21 lease compound is where it'll be located. Again, as set forth in the application, it's an eligible facilities request. It's within the parameters of the Middle Class Tax Relief Act federal law that indicates that so long as a tower is not extended more than 10%, the greater of 10% or 20 feet above the existing tower, and the compound is not expanded unreasonably, under federal law, the town must approve and cannot deny the application. So it's set forth in the application.
I do have to laugh. I love when the federal government tells us what we have to do. I hope that one gets advertised.
As a former board member in my hometown in Pittsford, I appreciate it as well. I'm just a lawyer telling you what the law is.
I understand. I always laugh at it. But then they tell us we have home rule and we can make our own decisions.
Yes.
All right. Jim, any questions?
My only question is, why did we never see this packet?
So,
Site, I did look for a sign, I've not read it.
Signs are.
Signs there. I know I go to the spray park enough, so I know right where the cell tower is. I also live.
You ever
in
bring
East-
kids?
Sometimes. The water's cold there, though.
He cavorts through once in a while.
That is a cold spray park. But anyway, if you're not familiar with which tower it is, it's the one right there. Rock Island is Union Station's entrance to the Environmental Bond Act Park, Union Station Park that's there. And the cell tower is just to the west of it.
I will abstain from the vote. So.
Okay. So once again, the packet we did receive, it was voluminous, and it included the special use permit, the site plan approval, as well as our variances. So yes, ours out of the whole packet, Jim, is this much.
But I mean, by sound and by federal law.
Yeah, we don't have a say.
We don't have any say
What I
about
was
it
going to
anyway.
explain is, this is a mere formality.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
Then why is he here?
Because our code has it in there that we have to go through this process. Correct?
You have to amend the variance.
And we have to amend the variance because we have, I'll call it a code, that has these things in there, and I'm sure it's the original template of a cell tower utility, telecommunication tower,
Yeah.
which everybody had in this area for the past 25 years.
So now they changed it to a federal
Well, there have been
requirement.
multiple acts over time, and
Mr. Lawson, do you remember when that act came into play?
The middle class, I think it was 2014, give me 1 second. It was, I'm sorry, 2012? I think what's important is, what this law doesn't say is you don't have to follow the town process. It just says that if there is a town process, it has to be done within a certain period of time, and if it meets certain parameters, they can't deny and they must approve. I think what a lot of towns have done is looked at the criteria for these eligible facilities requests and revised their code and said, if it's within the parameters here, go see the code enforcement officer and get a building permit, because it doesn't waste your time. But the fact is, the federal law doesn't exempt you from process. It only restricts the town's ability to say no. And they have to act within a certain period of time. So, again, I didn't do it, I didn't write it, I'm just telling you what it says.
No, I understand. I just thought, why wouldn't it just come as informational, like,
so eventually it
planning
won't even
board
make it to
stuff?
us, it'll just make it to the code. And that's the way the towns that have updated their code do that. We haven't
That
updated
hasn't
that.
happened here yet.
What's strange is if we all voted no, then what happened?
The Article 78
Right.
should win.
Right,
Yeah, so then it goes to court, costs the town lots of money.
right.
So if I abstain,
And then the court looks at you and says, you were going against the federal law, what are you doing?
No, I guess my question is, we just updated our code book, why wasn't,
Not for the utility towers.
okay, it's fine with me.
And we haven't even addressed the hovering utility radios yet.
In all of the modifications to cell towers that have happened in the past since 2012, this is the first application that has produced the Spectrum Act. And
Right.
one the Spectrum Act. Most of them are just switching out antennas
Right.
and arrays on existing towers, and it's a building permit.
Right.
When you make the modification to the height and add equipment, that falls, per our code, falls into requirements for a special use permit, or to amend the special use permit. Thus, planning board, they would change the height. They have to amend that previously there was a height. Granted, this tower goes back to
2007?
7,
Yeah.
I think, somewhere around there.
Yes.
So, this is the first application that's coming to me that's brought about the Spectrum Act.
so does this meet, Paul, the 1-to-1 ratio for the compound? So it's a 1-to-1 ratio, right? So for 10 feet high,
No, it's 10%.
I thought there was a 1-to-1 ratio as well.
It's 10%. What do you mean 1-to-1? Are you talking from the height to fall distance?
Yeah.
Oh,
The fall distance is the height of the tower plus 25 feet.
Right, which is why we're at the setback.
Does.
That's the setback that we're evaluating. So before, they had 145 feet for the 120-foot tall tower. Now they're going up to a 130-foot tower, which is why we're not talking about a setback from a property
So it
line. We're
doesn't-
talking about a setback. We have to revise the setback to make a new setback for the new height.
So it doesn't.
Well, right, it won't meet the setback because the old setback was with the old height. Now, the thing that's not shown on here is there may or may not be a structure inside of the fall
Well,
radius.
that's what I'm concerned about, because you see where that tower is. It's in a backyard. I mean, you don't see that thing until you get right up in that neighborhood, and all of a sudden it pokes its ugly head out. And you go, whoa, now you're gonna add 10 feet onto that, and that's where my
So,
concern.
I guess,
But we don't have that concern.
Oh, we can have the concern, but we can't do anything
I
about it.
have that concern, but there's nothing we can do about it.
Willigers, okay.
So I had a question, I'm Phil Sabaka.
I'll get you at the public hearing. So let me go through our process, then I'll open up. And then I'll announce a public hearing, and then you can talk. Yep. We'll do that shortly here, just because I don't want to belabor this one.
All right, sorry.
There's not much we can do about it.
I guess it, like Mark's question, I was in that range. That changes, but we can't, even though they're short of what we had in our code.
We're not saying short. We're here because they're always going to be short. We granted them a variance in 2000. Now they're amending that one to go a little higher, and then the setback is recalculated based on that formula that we're talking about there. So that's why these two variances are coming in here. It is not addressing if anything falls within that, it's just drawing a line around it. And then if that tower falls, then Verizon and Crown Castle get to hash that out with that homeowner. And the federal government, we know they're not going to be part of it. So, any other questions?
So, yes. So it's still gonna be 145-foot setback?
No, it's going to be 155 foot. That's what we're considering tonight. It's already been granted 145 foot for the 120 foot tower. That's why they both say granted and granted.
Okay.
It's 130 feet is the new tower because they're adding 10 feet. And that extends the setback 10 more feet, which is the one-to-one that you're talking about.
Okay, I guess that's what I wanted to clarify.
The 25% is the total height of the tower. Or 20%, not 25%, whatever the number was. All
Okay.
right.
Yep.
Bill?
Nope.
Side table? Now I'll open up the public hearing. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, this is actually in my backyard.
Yep.
So this thing's gonna grow out much taller. And I guess my first question was on the setback. So that setback, it sounds like it's related to
the tower
because of the new height.
Yes.
Because I also noticed that the antennas that are on the tower are closer and lower, and then the next level is out further. I was wondering if that next level up is going to be that much further out as this monstrosity grows.
I don't know that answer.
The plans outline the array. Let me see if I can pull it out so you can see exactly.
Yeah, I don't know why they do their arrays the way they do. You would know better than me.
Well, it's gonna be interference.
I'm guessing it's interference between the three different carriers and the different arrays that are up there.
Well, it's one carrier in terms of the size of the array or the distance in the array. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
The distance between the array, the sets of antennas is for interference reasons. The size of the array is based on the frequencies that they're using and the spacing, the antenna spacing that they need to have for the network. So Verizon, I honestly don't know who's the other carrier, but Verizon is operating on 5 different frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And so with each sector, it needs to provide antennas for each of those frequencies. So there's more, frankly, there's more antennas on Verizon's set than there is for most of the other carriers because they just have more frequencies. If this is recorded, I would say because Verizon has a much better network. I'm sorry, not trying to be flip, but they have more frequencies because they have more traffic.
Right. Does that answer your question
And will
somewhat?
this be 5G that's being put in place?
The answer is there's 5 different frequencies. 5G, sounds like I'm being a lawyer, I'm not. I need everyone, remember they were talking about the 5G millimeter wave that was contemplated and advertised in the Super Bowl a few years ago. This is not that. It's a 5th frequency. It's similar, but it's not that millimeter wave. It's just a 5th frequency that Verizon's operating, and there's so much traffic, they'll soon be operating on a 6th frequency. It's not 5G per se that you saw.
So meaning we don't have metropolitan New York City speeds, we have Chi-Line New York speeds.
You have reliable,
Your phones may say LTE, 4G, or 5G on them.
Correct, but it's not the millimeter wave, which is really designed to be a replacement for what I would say fiber, et cetera. And those antennas need to be about 400 to 500 feet apart. And the coverage area is basically homes along what I would say a tight suburban or urban street, and it gets rid of it's a replacement for green light or Roadrunner, all those things. It's that fast, But here, in a more suburban rural area, like you'd see, outside of Rochester, the distance that you get you'd need so many antennas that you wouldn't, and you don't have the volume of people to justify that expense. So that type of millimeter wave 5G that I believe you're referencing just isn't feasible, at least at this time in suburban areas.
We'd like to put them on top of telephone poles.
They do.
That way they can space them that far apart.
We put microcells that, again, are very similar to what you're putting here. They're smaller type, but even that isn't the 5G millimeter that you're talking about. That's regular 4G. That's just, we put those antennas on utility poles in large, I would say, commercial suburban areas, like in shopping plazas and commercial areas where there's a lot of traffic. We put them on Wegmans stores going in, and they're, because there's a lot of traffic. What do you want me to pick up? That type, lots of wireless traffic in those high density commercial areas.
Okay.
But again, not.
Does that answer your question, sir? Somewhat?
Yeah, it is the millimeter wave.
That you were worried about.
That's not millimeter wave that's going on.
It's not.
It's not.
Okay.
And what about exposure, health issues and that, because it's a constant exposure, as far as the radiation from the cell tower for the people that live right there?
Again, the application and tab J is a certification that indicates that the Verizon is required by law and is a condition of its license that it must operate within federal standards. And those federal standards are the right power levels, et cetera, with the exposure. Again, these are, so we've provided that proof. And again, that's in there, so it's operating within federal standards, and that's all Verizon needs to sort of demonstrate. Again, the health effects. They can't operate outside of federal standards. They lose their license. They spent billions of dollars on the license. And once we've demonstrated that we're operating within federal compliance, the federal laws determine what that safe level of exposure is, and we're well below 1% of the federal standard. So when you think of, we're well below 1% of the maximum standard is what is the exposure from Verizon's antennas.
And then what about blocking the open air television signals? I know it seems to form like a shroud when you're in close. I don't have exception of the over air.
Again, Verizon has spent billions of dollars on their license, the same as I assume public television stations, over-the-air television stations have paid, I assume, millions for their FCC license. So everybody's paying to be on a certain spectrum. That's your certain lane of the radio highway. If Verizon is interfering with their frequency, there's a problem. If they're interfering with our frequency, if they're in our lane, that's a problem. We're not allowed to do that. It's a condition of your license. You stay in your lane. So Verizon stays in its lane because it doesn't want the liability of not staying in its lane. Doesn't mean something doesn't break and whatever, there's interference. But again, they design their equipment to transmit and receive on certain frequencies. If somebody else is there and it creates interference, it's nothing that Verizon did. So again, there should not be, by law, there should be no interference because you're required to stay in your lane.
Anything else, sir?
No, it sounds like it's going in.
It's going in, and we don't control the frequencies here, so.
Let me ask this. If the value of my property goes down because I can't sell it because nobody wants to live at the bottom of a tower, will that be reflected in my tax?
I have no idea. That is a question for the assessor, and I couldn't even fathom a guess. It's a question you could pose to them. I truly don't know.
I think you have to show that you couldn't sell the property.
I don't know. We'll leave that to the assessor.
I do have a question, though. When you talk about you have a standard that you have to meet for the radiation. Does that standard change with proximity of the houses?
It's it's human exposure level, right? So again, nobody, obviously if, you and I climbed up and were in front of the antenna when it was transmitting, you and I would be exposed beyond federal level, right? It's likely. When but it's at ground level when people are at ground level is how it's measured, right? So again, they measure that as a human being at ground level of the tower, standing at the base of the tower, what the exposure is. And every time you move a foot away from the tower in any direction, you are exposed to less the less RF emission.
Okay, but there's no, I guess what I'm looking for is you have somebody that's within his property or a dwelling 200 feet away from the tower, and you have a tower that is, there's not another dwelling within a mile. Is there different radiation levels that you are allowed to, or the emission levels you're out, so it's going to be basic for everyone?
It's the same. It's measured at the base of the tower. You can be at a certain level at the base of the tower.
Yes.
If you're 200 feet from, if your house is 200 feet from the tower, there's just, the level of radiation that you're going to be exposed to is far less than what's on your phone or coming from these fluorescent lights, right? Again, if I stuck my face up next to the antenna and they turned it on, I'd far exceed federal level. But the power level is exponentially reduced every time you step away from the
All right,
antenna.
we're gonna have to cut the science show off. I'm sorry, but we
Okay,
do
we'll
have to
discuss
close.
black and white then.
No, they're not even colors.
But we appreciate that.
We
Yeah,
do, we do.
I just was wondering if there was differences.
We do.
And the
standard's the same.
Yes, I'm getting beat. I'm wondering why I'm blowing it. No,
to keep us on track, so.
I'm in the same predicament that you are, sir.
All right.
I need to make, or have a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Side table, anything to add? All right. I will declare the zoning board as lead agency and based on the information evidence presented at this hearing, find this application to be an unlisted action of no significant environmental impact. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all those in favor saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, now, a motion to adopt this application, even though we can't do anything about it.
So moved.
We have a motion, second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Board vote, Jim. Oh, you abstained, never mind. Mark?
Yes.
Fred? Bill?
Yes.
I
Yes.
also vote yes, so we stayed out of the federal government's rule. But we are cognizant of the close proximity to the neighbor's house. Yes, he is west of it, and the wind predominantly comes the other way, but we don't want any damage or residual, as I'm sure Verizon doesn't want anything detrimentally to our neighbor here, so let's do our best to make sure that doesn't happen.
Correct.
I know it's over and stuff, but that percent, like, that you quoted at the beginning, is that a one-time thing, or can you
Correct.
come back and do another 10%?
You do not get two bites at that apple, right? So you get 20 feet, 10%, the greater of 10%
All right, so
of the
can you
territory.
guys take that out in
So
the hallway?
sorry.
We've got to finish up our meeting with a couple more items. Thank you. Minutes, anybody?
Nope.
All right, ask for a motion to accept and approve the minutes.
Motion.
All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Second, all those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.